All right, hello everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. When I tell you that today is absolutely crazy, first of all, you guys already know that I told you earlier on my morning live that I am not feeling well. I am fighting a cold that I caught on the flight home from New York, and I just can't seem to get any rest because all of these lawsuits just keep popping up. Now, with that all being said, it reminds me of when Oprah was giving away those cars. You get a car, you get a car. But it seems like you get a lawsuit, you get a lawsuit, and you get a lawsuit. Please pay attention. Now, let's get into it because now Faith Evans is reportedly being sued over Biggie's estate. Let's talk about it. Faith Evans hit with major lawsuit over the Notorious B.I.G.'s mother's estate. Now, the Notorious B.I.G.'s mother, Voletta Wallace, passed away in February at the age of 72. Faith is facing a new lawsuit from Wayne Barrow, a record executive who became the executor of the estate following Voletta Wallace's death. Now, Barrow is accusing Evans of allegedly refusing to share any of the profits from a catalog deal with the estate. He's saying that Faith is trying to keep all the money for herself and won't even let him get a coin, honey. Okay? Now, according to Billboard, the filing claims that Valletta managed a significant portion of the assets that the Notorious B.I.G. left behind after his death through an LLC. It further claims that she sold half of those assets to Primary Wave before her death. Now, in turn, Primary Wave owns a major portion of the rapper's music catalog, as well as various rights to his name, image, and likeness. With that being said, this allegedly makes her responsible for divvying up shares of the profits from the catalog to Wallace's trust. Now, they say Miss Evans has distributed sale proceeds to Tiana, CJ, and presumably to herself. This is what Barrow said in the lawsuit that he filed, referring to Biggie's children, two of them. Now, he says she, however, has wrongfully withheld the trust redacted share of the proceeds, okay, in the amount of, and that is also redacted. Now, he says he's further alleging that Evans has completely refused to work with the trust and is keeping Barrow entirely in the dark about the business and the affairs of the LLC. He also adds that Ms. Evans' actions are particularly troubling given that, unlike Mr. Barrow, she has never previously been involved in the LLC's management. So he's like, now what does she think she's doing? Trying to snatch up all the money and not even giving him his share, and he's not standing for it. So with the lawsuit, Barrow wants a court order forcing Evans to at least provide the trust with its share of the profits, which he says he will donate to the Christopher Wallace Memorial Foundation. Additionally, he says that he wants to take Evans's position as manager of the LLC. Now, this man cites how her continued misconduct and disregard for her obligations have led him to be very upset. Now, Wayne Barrow's lawsuit isn't the first time the Notorious B.I.G.'s name has been dragged into legal action this month, following Diddy's not guilty verdict for the charges of trafficking and racketeering in his criminal trial. An anonymous plaintiff filed a lawsuit against him, accusing him of allegedly masturbating with an M into a shirt previously worn by the Notorious B.I.G. and throwing it on the John Doe during an encounter in Los Angeles in 2020. This is all so disgusting. Okay, do y'all hear this? Do y'all hear this? Now, how did this even make the news about the shirt? Okay, but I guess John Doe had to put that in his lawsuit. And another thing is, John Doe was ordered by a judge to say who he really is. Okay, they're not going to let him go forward with a pseudonym. So anyway, the Bad Boy Mogul's legal team shot down the claims in a statement provided to TMZ, where they wrote that Mr. Combs' trial and acquittal on trafficking and RICO charges prove what we had been saying all along. Mr. Combs never sexually assaulted or trafficked anyone, that people continue to broadcast and file false accusations, no matter how heinous and uncorroborated they are. And it's unfortunate, but Mr. Combs will not back down. He will fight for as long as necessary to win his full vindication. Ooh, honey, so what do you all have to say about this? Okay, everybody's getting hit with all these lawsuits. I can't even get any rest today, okay? My head is literally spinning. I can barely talk. Okay, I am congested, but here I am trying to bring you all the news. So please pay attention, honey. I hope y'all appreciate me for my due diligence, okay? At the end of the day. But anyway, what do y'all think about this? What do y'all think about this? And it's interesting because this man, Wayne Barrow, I don't know exactly who he was to Biggie or his family, but I would have thought definitely that Faith would have been the one to be in charge after Valletta Wallace passed away. May she rest in peace. You know, this is the second time today that I've had to mention something about Big. If you remember, I was telling you all earlier how somebody was going in talking about how ugly Biggie was and the fact that Faith had children with him, knowing that they could have turned out looking just like him. Isn't that low down? But anyway, and here's the thing. This is another report from Billboard. Okay, the lawsuit says Biggie's widow wrongfully withheld Valletta Wallace's cut of the primary wave deal, which was reportedly valued at $100 million. That's a whole lot of cash. Faith Evans, the R&B singer and widow of the notorious B.I.G., has been sued for allegedly refusing to share profits from a landmark primary wave catalog deal with the estate of the rap icon's late mother. She's now faces the claims in a Delaware court petition originally filed last Wednesday, July the 2nd, and unsealed on Tuesday, July the 8th. Now, the case was brought by Wayne Barrow, the record exec, of course, who I said became the executor of the estate after Valletta Wallace's death. The petition says Valletta managed an LLC holding Biggie's assets for the rapper born Christopher Wallace, who was killed in 1997, up until she negotiated the transformative sale of half of the portfolio to Primary Wave prior to her death. Now, the deal, which the Wall Street Journal reported was worth $100 million, gave Primary Wave a stake in Biggie's catalog as well as certain name, image, and likeness rights. And according to the filing, Evans became the sole manager of Biggie's LLC after his mother's death. This allegedly makes her responsible for giving the deceased matriarch's trust, managed by Barrow, its cut of the profits from the sale of the catalog. They say Miss Evans has distributed sale proceeds basically to herself and two of her children and has wrongfully withheld what Mr. Barrows claims that he is owed. Okay, I want you all to pay attention. How this is all a shame. Additionally, Barrow says Evans has refused to recognize the Valletta Wallace Trust as a 50% member of the holding company and has kept Barrow entirely in the dark. They say her actions are troubling, and he wants a court order forcing her to provide the trust with its share of the Primary Wave sales proceeds, which he says he will ultimately give to the Christopher Wallace Memorial Foundation. So anyway, what do you all think about that? And then he goes on to talk about how she's continued misconduct. She's continued to engage in misconduct and has disregard for her obligations and is just doing him dirty as far as he's concerned. All over this $100 million, honey. You all drop me a comment. Let me know what you all think, because when I tell you all these lawsuits are just popping up everywhere. Everybody's been sued for everything. Okay, and let's not forget about Tyler Perry. Okay, that all being said, let me know what you all think. Do you all think that Faith is actually keeping money from this man and that she's not giving him his just due? Or do you think that this is all based on greed? Okay, and people just infighting over profits from the late B.I.G. Let me know what you think. Till next time, beloveds, I will talk to you all again soon. Peace.